But it's important that they know why they're being... Like, you can't just slap them for no reason.
Oh, no.
They have to know what caused it.
Yeah, you have to start with an airing of grievances and then the
Yeah.
slap. Or you could go the slap first and then while the eyes are tearing up, then it's like, this was because of X, Y, or Z.
I think it's more fun to say...
Purely hypothetically.
Do you know why I did that?
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Well, at least it wasn't a yawn.
Yeah, different noises.
Dal, do you want to start Holiday or Manage Comics?
Let's start Holiday, just to make Brian Garside wait.
Okay.
I know he appreciates it.
I'm sure he does.
It's weird how, like, a set portion of every episode for the last, 18 months has been like, let's talk about Managed Comics. I hope he appreciates that.
Well, Dal, this is
or doesn't dread it? I don't know.
This is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast.
Still.
And Managed Comics is a major portion of our business.
It really is, yeah.
So,
for better or worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. So when it goes right, we want to talk about it.
Right.
When it goes wrong,
Sure.
we want to talk about it.
Sure. Who knows which one this week is? I honestly don't remember.
Do you remember the history of this podcast? Like, why we started doing it?
No.
Because we used to do a point-counterpoint written column for the website where we used to work.
Yeah.
And it was basically we would pick a topic and then figure out
a comic book. I felt like it was comic review related.
Yeah.
Where we would the new issue of Avengers,
Yeah,
and
we didn't stick on the comics real often.
No, but still, that was.
But
it's Genesis, if I remember correctly.
We had to each come up with an opposing viewpoint of the other.
Right.
So we had to decide ahead of time who's for and who's against.
Right.
And it often didn't matter what you thought of the book.
Right.
You had to argue that point.
Yeah. Like debate class, you know?
Basically. And that's what we imagined Contest of Challengers being.
Right.
Because
that's the
name.
The name was a play on the, obviously the classic Marvel series Contest of Champions, which I think has now become like a mobile game and some other stuff.
It is, yeah.
And so Contest of Challengers was the riff on that. But yeah, originally it was supposed to be more like antagonistic, playing off of the general tone of the previous version of this.
Don't worry, I think that we still managed to do a pretty good job of being antagonistic toward each other.
It's true.
Not nearly as well as we do it live in person in the store, but,
No.
it's a version of it.
Well, it's hard to maintain that sort of, blistering animosity for, an entire hour.
You just get tired.
Well, and plus it escalates so quickly that it's like, well, you can't go any bigger than that without physical violence.
Or storming out, and then...
Yeah, and that's the thing. The
Which
natural,
has happened.
The natural result is usually the podcast is over, and now Patrick has to come up with a completely different version that only includes him.
You say it like it's a thing that you could live through.
I wouldn't say it constantly happens.
No, I didn't. I just said a thing you
if you eat roast beef 12 times in your life, you wouldn't say you constantly eat roast beef. It would be a rare, nay, freakish occurrence. So yeah. I wouldn't. I don't know if it's been an even dozen times that we've had to end the podcast due to open hostility, but I don't know.
No, but there's some.
Yeah,
anyway,
high single digits.
Knowing that this is a comics industry business podcast, what do you think a better name for the podcast would have been? Obviously, we're not changing it. This is our brand.
Oh, no. Not this many episodes, and certainly. Knowing what it turned into, none of your business.
That's not comics, though.
You're putting me on the spot here.
I know. That's fair.
Usually these things take a while. Sidekicks, I think, took almost a week.
Yeah.
Of letting it kind of percolate to figure out what should we call the kids' room at Challengers. It was not.
But the Rogues Gallery was almost immediate.
Yeah, I think so.
There is a comic shop called the Rogues Gallery. There is a comic shop called Sidekicks, and now
there's a cookie shop in Chicago called Cookies and Conversation. I found out.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I guess that's the cream of the experience, is the conversation. There is now a comic shop that took my name for my comic shop when we eventually go our separate ways.
Sure.
Which, let's face it, I would never want to open another comic shop again. But were I to start from scratch and have a comic shop,
Right.
I always had the name and the logo and the design ready to go.
Okay. Me too, but go on.
And somebody, well, yours is just Dallinger's.
Nope.
Somebody,
Mine was one I proposed in the early days, and you were like, no.
oh, okay.
And I don't think it was no, like, absolutely not. It was just like, no, I don't see it.
Was it Rocketed to Earth?
It was Rocketed to Earth, yeah.
Mine, still Possessive,
Uh-huh.
which is a bad idea.
Yeah, don't you know better by now?
But
no plurals, no possessives.
The store that opened it, A, don't like their logo.
Okay.
B, added comic store after it.
Oh,
and
okay.
mine was just going to be, and I've held on to this for years, and I feel like I'm betraying myself.
This is closing the door now by saying it out loud.
Away, but somebody used it.
Yeah.
Kirby's.
Okay.
Just Kirby's.
It's a good name.
The Fantastic Four font.
Sure. Apostrophe S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With crackle all around it.
It's really good.
Yeah.
That's a
thanks.
good name. Yeah.
Not Kirby's Comics, just Kirby's.
The two downsides, obviously, the possessive
Right.
is going to screw you.
Yeah.
It always does. But additionally, I feel like there'd be people who'd be like, oh, are you Kirby? And you would have to have like some sort of recurring
There
joke
would be
answer for that.
a large portrait of Jack
Doesn't
Kirby.
matter. Anytime you put a name in the store, there's going to be a percentage of people who are like, oh, that must be the owner.
Yeah, but here, ask me.
Oh, are you Kirby?
No, Kirby died.
That's a way to start a business relationship with someone who walks in the door.
It's true, though. Kirby died.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
Patrick, a little bit of him lives in all of us.
Literally, some of him lives on me.
You could spin it towards that. Like, I mean, in a way, if you're in a comic shop,
We are all Kirby.
we're all Kirby.
Yeah. Kirby's.
That's a good name.
Yeah. It's gone now. I can't use it. Somebody has Kirby's Comic Store or Kirby's Comic Shop or
I bet
whatever.
you that the person who opened it is actually named Kirby. That's why they didn't do the logo like you would do the logo.
Huh.
Like, people are named that, you know? So they might not even... It might be a coincidence that they are opening a comic shop named Kirby. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
They also, in this scenario, don't know who Jack Kirby is.
I think they know who he is. But it's just like... Mostly it was because their name is Kirby.
Their favorite comic artist of all time is Joe Madureira.
Oof. Wait, you know this? This
No,
is
I'm
true?
not.
Oh my god.
In this narrative that I'm creating.
I'm super curious about this shop now. Like, it wouldn't be the weirdest choice ever. Joe Mad's a popular artist.
Sure.
I
I
mean,
wanted to pick somebody who was...
if you were like L.A. Garza, I'd be like, what?
Oh, that's a good one, though. Oh, I should have picked Ali Garza. I did it with him once.
And I don't think L.A. Garza is a
Charlie
bad
Trotters.
artist, but L.A. Garza is like a deep cut where it's like,
Yeah.
that's your favorite artist?
I wanted somebody who's not working anymore,
Sure.
but was popular for a minute.
Sure.
Both fit the criteria.
Yeah, it's true.
What a fun little side topic.
What were we doing? Holiday? Was that what we
We
were
were gonna.
with? Okay.
Specifically, holiday cards.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm okay doing a holiday topic now because it's December 2nd, and for me, December 1st is when we can start doing holiday
fine.
stuff. Like, I know that we had this discussion. Some people, like you, very much like day after Thanksgiving, it can be Christmas time.
Yep.
I dislike that there's no kind of decompression between Thanksgiving and Christmas, so I like keeping a little buffer.
I don't want to get too in the weeds on holidays here, but I
okay.
find that super weird because
Why?
you don't do anything for Thanksgiving.
No, but
It's not a holiday to you.
no, but it is relaxing, and I mean, I usually do stuff in advance of it, and it's kind of a day off. But I
Like, what do you do in advance of Thanksgiving?
usually spend time with friends, or I have a specific kind of Thanksgiving meal or whatever. It's.
Yeah, but that doesn't take any extra time or do anything different.
I mean, I make sure I do it.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be a specific Thanksgiving tradition, but it is
No, and that's totally fine.
prioritizing
but I mean,
relationships.
like, jumping right into the Christmas season doesn't...
It's more that I dislike how omnipresent Christmas becomes almost immediately, and I like there being more of a steady roll up to Christmas instead of just like, all right, it was Thanksgiving, a switch got flipped, and now we're on to the next holiday
Were
that
you
lasts
okay
an
with
entire
it?
month.
Before, like when you were younger, before Christmas became a thing you start seeing in August.
I don't think it's not like a lifetime problem or a concern. It's more just like in the last few years.
You have a problem with Christmas?
Do War on Christmas.
Wow.
The last few years I've really kind of valued a little window of just a few days before, like, okay, now Christmas can start.
Well, the thing about Thanksgiving is that it floats between, like, a 6-day period.
Sure, sometimes it's like a week before the end of December, and sometimes it's
the
like
end of
2 days
of November.
before.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, November, of course. Christmas becomes, not just a day in December, it's, 25 or more days. So I like the idea of keeping it 25. 25 days seems like plenty for Christmas.
Well, one of the things, and I used to love Christmas dearly. Still my favorite holiday.
Reindeerly?
Yeah, we'll go with that. Sure.
Okay.
Yep. I'll give you that.
Thanks.
It wanes as you get older, and there's things that I would do every Christmas that now I still make myself do that still sometimes it feels like effort.
Mm-hmm.
And Christmas cards. I've been making my own Christmas card since Christmas 1990.
Wow.
Yeah.
32 years of self-made Christmas cards.
And I don't have that. I don't have copies of all of them. Someone who used to work for us made me a little book of like the first, 10 years worth or something.
Really?
That I have somewhere.
That's cool.
But like with anything, there's some stinkers in there. They're not all great.
You get a new shot every year.
There's some I look back at and go, why did I lean into South Park that year? Just on the back cover, not the main one.
Stuff gets topical.
Right, sure. Christmas is forever. But anyway, I've been making the store Christmas cards since we opened.
Mm-hmm.
And the first couple years it was just cast photos.
Yeah, like family photos.
The first year it was you and me and Ashley and Charlotte, and you didn't know we were taking pictures that day. We had the girls and I had brunch over at Vela Cafe,
mm-hmm.
and then we're like, oh, we're doing photos, but you were there anyway, so
sure.
We took photos. I don't know if that was the year we had Jen Santorelli and take the photos. Maybe not. Then the next year we did photos, and we had we couldn't. Sam was still a stealth employee named Linda at the time.
Oh, right. So
Christina was holding up a photo of a paper that just had a question mark on it that said Linda.
Okay.
And I think some, like I don't know. So the first couple years it was just photos.
Sure.
And then we got more creative with it, and I don't remember a lot of the cards we did, to be honest. I could probably name all the T-shirts if I had to for the sale, but
wow, okay.
I don't remember some. I specifically keep remembering a Rudolph card we did.
Okay.
One where I was tied to a chair with tinsel, and the caption was "Wrapping up a good year, or great year." With everybody around, but we had to Photoshop Jimmy and Donovan in it because they weren't there for the photos.
Right, okay.
But we switched to postcards early on because it's way cheaper.
Yes.
And the Christmas cards are now out of hand. Like, we print up 1,000 cards.
It's a lot of cards now.
Yeah. Now, granted, we don't need 1,000 cards, but our printer goes from 500 to 1,000.
Yeah, and we
need more than 500.
We give one to every subscriber.
Yeah.
We send out to a lot of people in the industry.
Yeah.
You send out to friends and family.
Yeah.
I'll toss a few to people I know. We'll give one to, maybe with a gift card
UPS
or something.
driver or the mail person or whatever.
Like people,
the FedEx person.
Service people who help our business, that kind of thing.
And then we hand them out to customers as well, like non-subscribers.
Yeah, usually the week of Christmas.
Yeah.
Because with subscribers, we put it in the subscriber spot, or we put a note about it, and then that way we can keep track of who got them and who didn't. If people come in 2 or 3 times in a month, with non-subscribers, we kind of can't remember, so we usually just do it the last 3 or 4 days before Christmas.
Yeah, and because there's so many subscribers now, we used to put the cards in bags and boards, but then have to make a show of taking it out of the bag and board, and people are always like, "I don't get the bag and board."
No.
Which, let's face it, the card and what comes in the card costs more than a bag and board. But anyway.
So
they're all loose this year, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So there's a lot of cards, right? And we used to make it a point to hand sign every card. Every employee signs every card.
Right.
We also used to handwrite notes inside or handwrite who they're to.
Exactly. Someone's first name or something.
Yeah. We don't do that anymore because we only keep the cards in subscriber boxes until January 1st. Then we pull them out.
Yeah, it's if you don't come in the entire month of December, you're not getting a Christmas card. That's kind of our one rule about it.
And it's more than just a Christmas card. There's extra stuff in the...
Yeah, we do a little something each year now.
We tried a couple years ago. Everybody got a print from the French Comics Association.
Yep.
Of a variety of different prints we had.
We did the Challengers air freshener.
Well, that was last year.
Right.
2 years ago was the Challengers hand sanitizer. Mm-hmm. You know, we're not saying subscribers get a gift every... And there have been other stuff, I don't remember what, but there has been.
Sure.
We're not saying subscribers get a gift every year, but we like to do something just to acknowledge.
Yeah.
And I don't know...
When possible, yes.
Yeah. But it's costly. I was pausing to try to think of a better way to say...
Nope, costly.
Like, hey, it is to... Well, and then starting last year, we realized that we're in a very creative industry, and there's people who are way more creative than we are. Mm-hmm. And following Coco Fox on Instagram, she was doing... The year before, she was doing all these great holiday jokes and ornaments and things. Mm-hmm. And so in the back of my head, I'm like, we need to ask Coco to do our card next year. So we did, and that was last year's card, and it was great.
It was great.
And while I was talking about the cards on social media, I had a comic artist in the industry reach out and say, I'll do your card. I'll do a card whenever you want. And I said, I'll remember that next year. And I did. And I still don't know, like, the cards have already started getting, they're already in the boxes, okay?
Okay.
But the ones that I'm mailing out, I still have like 100 more to write up for those. Mm-hmm. The majority are done. Mail did not come today.
Oh, great.
Go figure.
So Happy holidays.
Yeah, we've got 3 medium boxes to go and then a bag of...
It might be a good idea to schedule something.
I don't know how to schedule a pickup when I have a couple of 100 loose envelopes.
Well, don't say that.
I don't know what to say
just say,
in that one.
Just say the priority mail stuff.
Yeah.
And they will send a truck, and then you will go, here are all of these too.
So I don't want to give away who did the... Like, who did the card isn't a secret.
No.
But I don't want expectations.
You want there to be a little surprise.
Yeah.
You open it up and you're like, oh, this is cool.
I've been deliberately not showing people.
Spoiler, it's not Jack Kirby. He's dead.
But he's inside all of us.
He died.
So whoever did it, put some Kirby on the page.
They actually did, it's true.
The card came out great.
Yeah, very happy with it.
It was this creator's vision, start to finish. Mm-hmm. Outside, inside, basically what it says, but at the last minute they said, oh no, I think we need to change it for these reasons, whatever. Mm-hmm. I can tell you, I already have next year's card designed in my head, as well as a subscriber gift and the wording for the inside of the card.
Great.
But I also don't want to be the person that says, hey, comic creator, draw this exactly. But sometimes they like that.
Patrick, I hate to ruin this for you, but comic artists are pretty used to people telling them exactly what to draw.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's usually how it works.
And then this creator put so much detail into this illustration that we almost feel that printing it on like a 5x7 card is such a disservice that we literally made a 17 by 22 inch print of it to hang up in the store around Christmas.
Yep.
I haven't put it up yet because people haven't started getting the card. And I don't want people be going, what is that?
What is that? Yeah. And the good news is, like, once you frame it, we can put that up every year.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to find out where it's going to go, though, because it's so big. I thought, it could just go where the little kiss Christmas. It's way too big to fit there.
Really?
It's 17 inches wide. Yeah, it won't.
Really? Wow.
Between the thermostat and the alarm, there's not enough room.
Okay.
I have an idea. But anyway. So the cards were assembled yesterday because it's not just a card. There's a thing inside. Mm-hmm. We hired, we had an artist to do the card. We hired a different artist to do what's inside the card. And basically I had done it. So let's jump back to last year. And I believe before Christmas last year, I was brainstorming with my family what we could do. Because what I've really decided for the subscriber gift is I want it to fit in an envelope so I can mail it out.
Sure.
It's like, what can you fit in an envelope that's still something?
Right.
And what's in it, the type of thing was one of my siblings' idea, but as soon as they said that, I said, oh, it'll be this, and it'll say this, and here's why we're doing it. It's like, basically, if you had said, what about soda? And I'm like, great, it's going to be this flavor and this can, like everything else. Like, basically, it wasn't my, like, the...
They gave you, like, the seed of an idea.
And it grew into something bigger.
Sure.
Yeah. But and then I did the art for the inside, and I said, this is fine, but it looks like every single thing I designed. You know who would do a way better job on this? Donovan. I'm going to have Donovan Beeson design the thing on the inside. And she did.
Yeah, and it came out great.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's immediately like, no, that's something that Donovan would do. Mm-hmm. And she gave me way too many choices. Like, she had the art and everything, and she's like, here's all these different color schemes. I'm like, there's too many.
Pick the one you think is best.
There's too many. So, what I was getting at for this 20-minute story was we don't just randomly put cards in every single club spot. This year, we like we said, we want to make sure people are coming in.
Sure.
This year, I'm like, I'm going to look at everybody and decide if I think they're going to be in December.
Sure.
For example, everyone who's just down for Saga, not getting a card.
Yeah.
Saga doesn't come out until the last week of January.
Nope.
They're not going to be back.
Nope. Not going to see him until then.
But here is the meat of what I had done.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to not tell you the meat of it. Instead, I'll jump around.
Okay.
In what instance, currently, at Challengers, do we make a divider for a subscriber?
It's when someone has a subscription to a series that lasts more than 3 issues.
And how do we know that they need to have a divider made?
Well, I guess there's 2 ways. You could either look at their subscriber account and see what they have an active subscription for, or you could, when a new issue comes out, it shows up on the pulls list, and then you look. If they don't have a divider and something's on the pulls list, you then look at their account and see if there's someone who's just pre-ordered something or if there's someone who's subscribed to something.
There were, I'll let you guess, how many dividers do you think I pulled?
For people who don't have active subscriptions any longer?
For people who either A, did not come up in the system at all, B, have nothing on their list, or C, only have inactive lists, i.e., all the bad idea books.
Sure. 20.
29.
I believe it.
29 dividers got pulled.
I'm glad you did that, because that's the thing I would think about occasionally as I was going through the subscription boxes, and I'd see people and I'd think, I don't think they've ordered anything in a few months. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a handful of people.
Good to free up some of those dividers. We need them.
There's like 2 or 3. Oh, damn, we have so many dividers in the back.
I know, but we always need more.
There's like 2 or 3 people that I'm like, they're not down for anything, but they may be, or...
Which you can always make another divider for someone.
Yeah.
There's been any number of times in the past where I've, removed someone from the subscription service because they've been delinquent, and then the next day they come in, and it's like, all right, well, we'll sign them up again. So that divider I just deconstructed, I have to rebuild.
Yep. So I didn't deconstruct the dividers yet. I left them out in case you and Molly Jane want to flip through and see the names.
Sure.
Basically, it was one of 2 things. If I didn't recognize the name, I looked it up.
Right.
Which was at least half of the ones that got pulled.
Sure.
And then if it was somebody who didn't have anything in their spot, and I didn't recognize them having come in Wednesday,
right,
I would look it up again to be like, are they down for anything, or what are they down for?
Although, I'm sure this week there were a few people who actually have subscriptions but didn't have anything come in this week because this week was so small.
Right, but that's what...
But it's spurred it on.
That's why I looked it up.
Sure.
And that's why I could tell you how many people just had Saga.
A lot.
Which, their divider stayed, of course.
Of course.
But
like you said, they're probably not going to get a December-only greeting card.
Correct.
With no issue of Saga in December.
Yeah, and normally we use the Christmas cards as a guidepost to how many people didn't come in over the course of the month. But this time it was the opposite. It's like, oh, there's 29 people. 28, technically, because we had one subscriber leave today.
Okay.
Due to distance.
Oh, yeah.
and they only had one book on hold, so I said, don't worry about it.
Right.
And after I sent that email, realized, oh, we pulled this title from the shelf. There's no room for Deadly Class anymore.
Nope.
Guess what? There is. There is now.
Found a space.
Didn't want to... and, maybe someone wants that single issue. We'll leave it
The
up there as
last
long as
issue?
we can.
Yeah, maybe. Sure. It's possible.
Yeah. So that was my main point of the holiday discussion was
Gotcha.
29 dividers of subscribers that just aren't subscribers, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that... I don't want to say they were just like speculators only, but we had people that were just... would only pre-order specific covers, like at the last minute, or they would subscribe to like one series, but the B cover only because it was a hot book by a hot creator featuring a hot character or whatever. And then people who just over time, like, they would sign up for, Fortnite X Marvel. And then nothing else.
Yeah.
So after 5 months, it's like, we're done.
Like 3 or 4 of those.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'll happen. Like, that's why we created a separate section just for people who are only down for pre-orders, so that people who, are maybe only ever going to sign up for Batman Spawn, we don't have to make them a divider, and we don't have to figure out another spot. We just toss it in the box behind the Managed Comics pre-order divider, and then in a month we put them all back out because none of them come in.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many people I've had to... they only pre-ordered one thing and then they never came in, and we would email them and go, please buy this because you made us order it, and they would never respond to any emails, and we don't have a phone number for them, and then it just goes back on the shelf.
Hey, that one subscriber who you wanted to drop a couple days ago and you said you're going to give till Saturday, all of my research has come up empty. I can't find... granted, we have their email and have emailed,
Sure,
but they've never
you can't
come
find
back.
like a valid social media account or anything like that?
Yeah, nor can I find any, let's say the worst happened,
Right.
information about that.
Sure.
Because, unfortunately, it's a fairly common name.
Right.
So, do you want me to take everything out of their box?
I'll take care of it on Sunday.
Okay. I mean, because I know it's...
Instead of giving till the end of till Sunday, basically.
Yeah,
so Sunday
but
it's going to get taken out.
I just didn't know if you wanted me to... Because you got to consider all that in FOCs. So I would need to go in and delete all the subscriptions, but also then add all those back into the...
I can do all... That can all be done on Sunday.
Okay.
Me or Molly Jane or somebody. It'll all get done.
But I figured, I'm like, no, that's it. We tried.
It seems
also,
unlikely at this point.
They did not get a Christmas card.
Oh, no.
At first, Gina was going through the boxes. I'm like, did you call out the names? And I'll say yes or no. But then I'm like, there's the ones I got to look up, and I'm way faster just knowing who to give it to.
Right.
And more importantly, who is a subscriber who doesn't get a card because they're getting one mailed to them.
Sure.
For just because they're on my list.
Yeah.
So I was doing it myself, and I was like, you blow through it, then you stop, and like, I gotta look up this person, this person, this person.
Sure.
Fine. And then drop cards in, and I kept saying, maybe this is one of those things I don't say in the podcast. Let me just say that my quote to Gina was, just because I don't like them doesn't mean they shouldn't get a card.
Yeah, it's Christmas time.
Yeah.
You know? Holiday cheer and all that,
Yeah.
right?
Right. I mean, they still shop with us. They still get a card.
Sure.
Unless you're down for Saga. And Saga only. And hey, if those people come in, happy to give them a card.
Yeah, if
happy
those
to.
people come in the last, 4 days of Christmas and buy a graphic novel or something, here's a Christmas card. Merry Christmas.
Dal, you brought up the fact that this week wasn't what you would call packed with new releases.
I would not.
I'm putting words in your mouth.
We had to, me and Molly Jane, and I think you probably at one point, had to work very hard to utilize all of the new this week space with what we were actually shipped from vendors.
Can I just say, at the end of the day today, I quit.
It's so bad.
There's no way you can keep filling the spaces.
No?
There's only one empty space right now, but it's like every other book on this shelf only has one single issue.
4 shelves are old pop holidays. Like the holiday vinyl, pop vinyls. 4 shelves. Because we had 4 shelves that we had nothing for, because nothing came out this week. And then, of course, I haven't done the count yet. That'll be, in a couple days. I'm sure that this coming week will be way too full, and we're going to be pulling our hair out, those of us who have it, to make everything fit in the section, as opposed to filling it up with whatever crap we can find that vaguely fits new this week.
And this is one of the dumbest fucking things about the comic book industry, is that
feast or famine, man.
It's feast or famine. Hey, that's just what the email said. The email last week that went out, it's like, hey, feast or famine.
Oh, okay. It's a good one for Thanksgiving.
This week is feast for sure. Because there's so much stuff coming out, and last week was like nothing.
Right.
And I know it's not the publisher's job to look at what other publishers are doing. Look at what yourself is doing. Look how many books you have coming out of the span of the month. Divided by 4 or 5 by how many weeks there are. That's your output.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. I know there are still pandemic-related production delays or supply chain issues. Fine. Still plan better.
Yeah, it's one thing when DC, almost as a rule, treats the 5th weeks of a month as an excuse to do annuals, to do one-shots, to do miniseries. We're kind of used to that, and it's not a huge deal. DC was our biggest category this past Wednesday.
Because everything, for Book of Theirs, is $8.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, while they may do a lower output, everything they're doing is like twice as expensive as a regular issue of Nightwing, a regular issue of Batgirls or Detective.
Yeah.
So, like, it makes it up that way, and then on top of that, they're throwing in, like, a Superman Kal-El special, or the first issue of a Blue Beetle miniseries, or with
first issue of Justice Society,
5 covers. So all that stuff, it all sort of works out. It's especially difficult when every single publisher treats the 5th Wednesday in November as an excuse to do the barest minimum, where Marvel has like 9 comics out, which is absurd, and not all of those were hits. When Image doesn't have a lot of stuff out, when Dark Horse, when Boom, when et cetera, and then all of a sudden you look at the amount of space that we dedicate to new books every single week, and suddenly 1 week out of the year, it's like we could literally get by with half as much space. Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
That means nothing came out.
I do want to say that Boom had a pretty good week, with Damn Them All #2 and Briar #2, and
Sure, the delayed Briar #2.
Yeah, it still was out
it
this
still
week.
came out. You're right.
Yeah. And if only Behold Behemoth was out, #2 is out. They could choose across the board.
Yep, nice hat trick there.
So there was no issue like, hey, look, Boom's still giving us things to sell. But it's so.
I mean, it certainly doesn't help us. I don't know how it did for other stores, that Avengers Assemble Alpha totally DOA. No one cared. We pulled it, I think, for everyone who got Avengers, because it is the start of a giant Avengers storyline.
Yeah.
But it has so little to recommend it, because it basically is only appealing if you've been reading Jason Aaron's Avengers for at least the last year. Like, it is so new reader unfriendly. Like, what is it? And why would I read it? And what's going on? And it's like, I don't know any of these characters. And then, on top of that, did you read it?
Not yet.
It's just a giant fight scene. Like, it feels like the Zero issue. It feels like what you would give
out.
out.
The last thing that Brian hated, that Sinister, was it Sinister War? Yeah.
I don't remember.
The Spider-Man 4-issue thing that was just one long fight scene.
Oh, is he doing that? Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I blocked that out. But Avengers Assemble Alpha is just, it's like the sort of comic they would give away at Free Comic Book Day to then make you go get the actual comic with real content coming out in a month.
I'm sure that was a Marvel edict of, no, it's going to be an event. It's got to have a Alpha and Omega or whatever.
Yeah, no one cared. So that's a bummer, because that was, by a lot of metrics, the best chance we had to have a hit book this past Wednesday, and no one cared. Again, we pulled it for everyone who got Avengers, so we're still going to move a few dozen copies, but off the shelf, oof. I'm really glad I went up a very small amount of copies for the various Avengers chapters. Like, I think I went up a little bit on Avengers Forever, but maybe like just a couple copies on Avengers.
Yeah.
Because Avengers Forever sells worse, and it's a chapter-to-chapter thing. But I don't think most people are going to care or notice. Too soon after Judgment Day. Why would you do this?
Oh, because they don't have any idea on what to do. They're not as
House had less
DC,
ideas, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, it's very frustrating when you can't at all plan for anything.
No. The idea of budgeting in comics as a retailer is so ridiculous.
And as a fan.
Fans at least have the ability of, we could have subscribers come in and go, okay, I'm going to get 2/3 of my subscriptions this week and I'll get the rest next week. And it doesn't always work out that way, but at least they could say that. We can't do that. We can't tell
our distributors.
We can't tell PRH or Diamond or Lunar, like, okay, well, I'm only going to take 2/3 of this now and I'll take another third the next week. Because we can't, they won't give us that option. We're ordering, the time to do that was 3 to 4 weeks ago. Not now. And you're not going to have it when people come in looking for it? You can't not do that. So yeah, it's tough. It's very, very tough when we get absolutely tiny weeks followed by weeks that are, for PRH, literally bigger than the previous 2 weeks combined.
Oh, and good news, another Daredevil's out that just came out 2 weeks ago. Or will have been 2 weeks, the next one's out.
That's what makes the idea of, like...
Came out last week, comes out next
Marvel's,
week.
like, it's tough to schedule monthly books over a 5-week cycle seem kind of disingenuous. Because it's like, you guys toss in books whenever you want, wherever you want. Don't pretend that, like, well, week 1 is always Daredevil. Like, no, it's not.
Definitely isn't.
No.
I haven't done a Patreon segue for our patrons. It's a new month, and it's now time to thank our Patreon supporters, including our annual patrons, Becca Hilburn and Joseph Coco, Brent Helt, Dal's mom Diane Bush, Philip Sablik from Boom Studios, Jose Villagomez, Josh Crowley of Westfield Comics, our bestest wrestling watching pal, Michael Lee, Michael Romanenko, Mike Loveday, our patrons who have created their own tier, Andrew, Drew Troit Comics, Aaliyah, Bridget K. Neville, Chris Burton, Claudine Neville, our other generous patrons from the Say My Name pledge level, Arun Singh, Ben-Hur Benedict Calaguas, Bradley Rader, Braden, Manage Comics Own, Brian Garside, Christopher Haith, President of the Brian Garside Fan Club, Django Boren, Drew Triner and Ashley Edwards, Challengers Reservist, Fallon Mackerline, my brother George Brower, Heidi D., Jacob Sorelli of Kamikaze, Josh Trigg, Mark Hammond of Oh Yeah Comics, Margie, Keith, Logan, and Malcolm Springham, Marcuson Nasso, Matt Armstrong, Mitchell Davies of All-Star Comics in Melbourne, Australia, Morgan Dynamite Perry, Nick Baldwin, my longtime pal Robert Burns, Ron Payne, Ryan Hecht, Sean Bowers, Tad Eggleston and Johnny Williams, Thomas Nagovin of Century Guild, Walt Grogan. And if you want to hear your name thanked on this very podcast once a month, head over to patreon.com/challengers and pledge at the $5 Say My Name level. And a big thank you to all our other patrons at the various other pledge levels. All of the shipments that came today from UPS, let me rephrase it, all of them but one. So we got one box from Diamond that had one book, one copy of the Incal. That's the only one that had a packing list.
Oh, great.
Everything else, Ingram, no list.
Oh, great. Ingram at least emails theirs.
PRH,
you can dig it up.
No list.
Okay. Yeah, and PRH is the same way, but they're harder to find because we get 2 to 7 PRH shipment emails every single day.
Yeah.
At least with Ingram, it's like, well, we get maybe one a week, if that.
Well, I searched the POs, the purchase orders.
Yes.
And here's the weird thing about the Ingram one.
Okay.
I mean, it was split over a bunch of purchase orders. Fine, yes. It always is.
Yep.
But one specific book and quantity, the new Miyazaki book,
Shuna's Journey, yes.
We got in 3 more that are unaccounted for.
That's super weird. I wonder if the 3 were added after the order was created in Stocky.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't do this. This is I mean, it basically just means that someone, myself or Molly Jane, generated the purchase order in Stocky and then uploaded it to Ingram, but then on the Ingram order said, oh, wait, we need to get this, and just toss 3 on there. So then there's not a record for it in Stocky, but that's how we get 3 more.
Wow, why would we have gotten 3 more? We were already getting a ton.
Well, the 3 that we got in are from an earlier purchase order.
Okay, I see.
So the 10 that we got in was because I didn't see we had any in order, and I'm like, I want to get a bunch of those, A, to kind of build out an Ingram order, but B, because they will probably sell great. We're going to put them on the front table. We're going to recommend it to people.
Good news, it's in 2 spots.
Yeah, that's great.
I didn't add the extra 3 in case there's a purchase order somewhere that I couldn't
You
find.
can set them aside. I know how to find them in Stocky.
Okay.
There's a way to look it up to see if there's any open purchase orders for an item.
Now let's see if I remember to put them aside tomorrow, because they're all on the front counter.
Do or don't. It's fine.
I mean, I would rather, I don't know. What is it better to have the number be off under or be off over? Under. Because
then we can't accidentally sell a bunch. And
right.
when it hits 0, we'll order more, and then when we go to shelve it, we'll go, hey, wait, we still have
these.
this.
We don't need them. Yeah.
If it was too high, that's a different problem, because then we don't reorder it when we need copies, and that's worse.
Well, that was just one more time-consuming thing from today.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And here is what is also time-consuming. Mm-hmm. Can you guess which part of the conversation this is now?
Are we into Managed Comics now?
We are.
Okay, let's talk about Managed Comics.
I believe that you have already communicated all of these issues to them.
There's one in particular that I haven't yet that I imagine we'll probably talk about here, and I kind of feel bad that like additional bug reporting for Managed Comics is incorporated into the Contest of Challengers podcast as a recurring segment.
Well, let me just go through this transaction. We had a subscriber who hadn't been in for like 4 weeks, right? Just like a month.
Sure.
So it was a total of 22 items that were on their list.
Yes.
So pull up the list, look at it. It needs a little extra care because there's a couple of things that we put aside that weren't set aside on their list. Fine. Right. But when you go to send it from the Managed Comics helper tile to the Shopify register, you know, lately we've been having an issue where larger orders don't go through.
Yeah, we found out from Brian that there is basically as is maybe no surprise to anyone who's heard us talk about Shopify over the last 18 months, a Shopify problem where basically Shopify's patience for processes is very, very short. So if something doesn't resolve itself very quickly, Shopify's like, all right, tired of waiting. And when you have a gigantic order, it's going to take a little while to push it to Shopify POS. So Shopify needs to be a little bit more patient with larger orders. So Managed Comics as a team has to basically hack together a solution whereby they take a larger order, break it up into bite-sized chunks. So instead of saying, here's Shopify, here's 40 things, and Shopify basically just gets bored and wanders off halfway through, instead they will say, Shopify, here's 10 things, and Shopify moves them. Shopify, here's 10 more things. Here's 10 more things. Here's 10 more things, and now we're done.
And I think I saw that in action today because the list of
they also said they're going to put in a little bit of, like...
There's a break.
Animation, basically, to give you an idea of, like, have things been moved or not moved.
I didn't see that, but there was, like, a gap, a break in the list.
Okay, that's cool. I have not seen that.
So that is not the problem.
No. And worth pointing out as we start to delve into this, that Managed Comics, as always, the best thing about Managed Comics is that when you cite a bug, and it's a reproducible bug, they fix it. They work to fix it. Even if it's hard to understand why it's happening, they will spend the time and energy to understand it better and resolve it, instead of just going, all right, well, maybe we'll get that on the next patch. Like, they don't do patches like that. They work on their data and work on their side of things to make changes rapidly.
So it pushed everything through to Shopify. And
didn't apply the discount.
It applied half the discount.
Yep. And
didn't pull everything over.
So not pulling everything over is weird, and I mean that's definitely a bug worth reporting. I don't really see that as much anymore. Occasionally I think there's some errors that happen on receiving, where we receive an order through Managed Comics and it pushes it to people's subscriptions and pulls books for them. occasionally, it's the same way that, like, if you try to delete an item, or, like, you flag an item for deletion and it flags a completely different item that you did not touch.
Yes.
I think things happen with that where there's just a tiny bug or a tiny error, and that might be what's causing some of the stuff to not get copied over right.
Oh, no, Dale. Robert Burns did not get any pie for his birthday.
That's not my problem.
It's still sad. You can still feel bad for him. He shan't have any pie again.
It's not going to bother me at all. What does bother me, though, is the way the Managed Comics Order Helper tile has been having a little bit of a problem that I don't think we've reported yet with applying discounts to people's subscription books. So how the Order Helper tile works is it's doing a few things kind of in a row. What it's doing is it's taking your subscription books as a subscriber, and those exist as a line item that doesn't exist on our website. It's not this. If you have a Batman 129 in your subscription, it is not the same item as the Batman 129 that we would ring up off the shelf or that you would buy off of our website. It is a separate item that only exists for subscribers. So what Managed Comics is doing, kind of in order, is it's taking that Batman 129 from the subscription item, deleting it, adding a copy of the Batman 129 to the shelf copies, and then that is then becoming an item that's getting rung up out of the register. And then once it does that, it's also then applying your discount that you have from Managed Comics to each item on the list. It doesn't do like a bulk 10% off everything you're getting. It will do it line by line, item by item. And you can actually look at it for us.
You watch it go. Yeah, it climbs the bottom of the top.
You, the subscriber, can't look at it, but people who work at Challengers who are ringing you up can look at it on the screen and see that the personal discount is being applied to every single item. What we've been noticing, I've been noticing at least, is that on some orders, usually larger orders, but larger can mean honestly as few as like 15 items, which for us is not what we would consider a large order at all. It just stops doing that at a certain point. It starts at the bottom and it says personal discount, personal discount, personal discount, and then it just sort of stops doing that. And you're looking at the screen and you're waiting and you're thinking, okay, but it's going to start doing that again. It has more books it has to apply a discount to. And then after about 25, 30 seconds of silence of you watching the screen and not engaging with the customer because you're waiting to see if the order's done yet, and they're patiently waiting for their order to be finished so they can actually buy it and leave your store at some point.
To make the time go by, and you're being distracted. You're like, hold on,
and you're getting more and more anxious that this is becoming like not a smooth transaction. You eventually give up and you do one of two things, depending on where exactly on the roster of items Managed Comics has decided to stop applying the discount. If it's a very low number of books that have the discount applied to them, you go in, like if it's 2 of the 12 things have had the discount applied to them before Shopify/Managed Comics got bored and wandered off, you go into the 2 items that have the discount applied, turn the discount off on each of them manually, and then apply a bulk discount to the entire order to save yourself having to add a discount to 10 different items. If it's just a few items at the end, like 4 or 5 books that Managed Comics hasn't applied the discount to, you go into each of those items, manually apply the discount, and then you're done. It's not great. This is something that I would love to see fixed, and I'm sure it is within the scope of the Managed Comics team ability to fix it. But yeah, not something that showed up for us in the first week of using Managed Comics, but boy, it showed up a lot on Wednesday. Always, at the least opportune times.
Well, today's experiences were anywhere from a subscriber who got 3 books to no discounts applied at all.
Oh, great.
To most transactions, every discount. Fine.
Yeah.
But then randomly, half or less than half.
Yeah, I wish I could say it was like a specific book was doing it, or like only if you had the largest amount of books. Like it didn't seem like there was any rhyme or reason on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for it kind of not working right. Fixable, unlike some of the other errors, it's easy to correct, but it once again introduces yet another step. So that would be a thing that we would like to see fixed. But otherwise, it works.
Yeah, it's just that at that specific point, a line forms because this transaction takes time.
Right.
And then I have to go in and take out or add the discount to, let's say, 10 items. Mm-hmm. Then I realize it's missing an item. Then you have to go back, what is it missing? And sort through everything to find out the one thing it didn't pull over.
So how did you do that? Did you just start from scratch, or did you like go back to look at their customer order or whatever?
I was looking on the screen and comparing to what the books were.
Because what you might consider doing,
because I
think what would work is if you go into the Managed Comics tile, and then look up customer order. What's left should just be whatever you didn't pull into the cart.
Sure.
So that might be a little faster if you have like. If you think one item didn't get pulled over, you can go in and find out what it is.
And then at the same time, a new web order came in, and someone was trying to tell me a story, and the line is just growing, and it's like, this is the worst time. And then on that order, we couldn't find one of the books that somebody had asked for, a new comic. I'm like, what the? But no, things got moved around. It was hidden behind.
That's good.
But just like, and then like the people that were waiting so long. They're buying 2 buttons.
Feel bad.
And then there was a kid who kept trying to like take the. I forgot to say during this whole time, the scanner would not work.
Oh,
the barcode reader just wouldn't work.
So weird.
It just you turn it on, it connects, turns off immediately.
Weird.
So I'm having to look up everything manually.
Right.
For every transaction as well.
That sucks.
So the last hour of the day was pretty frustrating.
I'm sure.
And I may have yelled something about the store that I did not mean, but I still said it out loud.
Was it the title of a recent Kyle Starks book?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, basically. I didn't mean it though.
No, you just you got
it's
hot
caught
under
up
the
in the
collar.
moment. Yeah. It's very frustrating when all the things happen at the same time.
Oh my god, yeah, you do not have to tell me.
But that is, you have to realize the experience people get when you're at your worst. It doesn't matter how good you are when everything's firing on all cylinders. You're like, I can recommend that, I can recommend that. How good are you under pressure?
Sure.
Still giving someone a good experience.
Yeah.
Do you know how many kids I wanted to slap today?
All of them.
Only 2. You know how many kids I slapped today?
It's less than normal.
None.
Aww.
But I wanted to.
Maybe for Christmas.
Don't get my hopes up. Oh, man. Think of all the kids I could slap. That'd be great. But it's important that they know why they're being slapped. You can't just slap them for no reason.
Oh, no.
They have to know what caused it.
Yeah, you have to start with an airing of grievances and then the slap. Or you could go the slap first and then while the eyes are tearing up, then it's like, this was because of X, Y, or Z.
I think it's more fun to say...
Purely hypothetically.
Do you know why I did that? And so they can list all the horrible things.
Purely hypothetically.
Of course. Yeah, that's right. What a terrible conversation to have.
I know, right? God. And recorded. Jesus.
I guarantee you, every single parent who shops with us is thinking, how dare you? And, oh, I get it. Actually, they're probably just thinking the I get it part. And they know I wouldn't slap their kids. And I'm sure they want to slap them way more than I do.
At this point, I don't know. I don't want to read too much into people's motivations.
That's fine. It actually was, one of the things we hate most, especially the holiday season, is the time you spend recommending things to people that they don't buy. Well, because it's so early in the holiday buying season, we don't have that many people. Like, we had a handful of people doing Christmas shopping, but they were doing, like, hey, I need 5 graphic novels for someone.
My 2 biggest pet peeves, and I'll make them quick.
Like, for life in general, or in retail, or?
No, specifically for the subsection of, like, retail sales over the holidays.
Okay.
Very, very small.
So there's plenty of other...
Oh my god, yeah. Elsewhere. I mean, this is one of probably 800 different conditional events. For holiday gift giving via retail, the 2 pet peeves. One is when you're recommending a bunch of stuff and then someone goes with the dumbest thing that you didn't recommend. And you want to get involved. You want to be like, don't do that. But then it's like, this is not my gift. It's not my gift giving person. But then someone will just like, you're going to make this mistake and I can't stop you. Like, this is not my grenade to throw myself on. The other pet peeve is not something that's customer related, but something that I absolutely hate about the last few days before Christmas, is when we are out of everything and it becomes so much more difficult to recommend anything because all of your go-tos are like, we're not getting that back in for another few days. So you have to come up with a good recommendation out of like your C and D list stuff, because all the A and B stuff that you'd recommend is gone. Like the people who come in December 23rd, it's like, we're in this boat together. You waited this long, and then this is what I have to give you.
So we had someone in today who they were buying books for a 10-year-old. Mm-hmm. And they had a list of books that their own son had recommended.
Okay.
The first one was Batman Year One.
Oh, my God.
To which I said, that's not a book for a 10-year-old.
I mean, there's only a certain amount of horrors in it.
That's true. So I'm
way less than other Frank Miller books.
I'm like, how about, a great Batman story for a 10-year-old? How about Hush? Hush has every single Batman villain in it.
It's
right?
True.
Yeah. We're out of it.
Oh.
It came in after they left in the shipment today.
Classic.
Well, I mean, Gina gave them Nightwing instead.
Sure.
Another book that their son recommended for a 10-year-old?
Walking Dead.
Immortal Hulk. No. No, Dale.
Because of the anti-Semitism?
It's body dysmorphia horror.
It's still like a Hulk book. I don't know. Like, I mean, it wouldn't be my go-to, but if like a 10-year-old wanted to buy it, I wouldn't be like,
So I said, how old is your son who's making all these recommendations? 45.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, that makes sense.
When you started, I thought this was like a 10-year-old made a list for another 10-year-old. And I'm like, how is this 10-year-old reading Batman Year One and Immortal Hulk already? Like, let alone recommending it to another child.
No, the point of that story was what you just said. Like, I'm going to recommend Hush. We don't have it.
Right.
But just my 45-year-old son was recommending these books for a 10-year-old.
I mean, look, if you don't work in a comic shop, if you don't understand the breadth of material available for younger readers, you might feel like, I mean, I read Batman Year One when I was, 14, 13.
And you've hated the 1% ever since.
If it's an especially like...
Yeah, you've liked horrors.
High-level reading version
really
of
horrors. Like
a 10-year-old,
it's a
maybe
problem
if they're reading
finances.
stuff in that like 12 to 13-year-old range, maybe you're like, sure, that it would be appropriate for them. Like they're used to that sort of material.
There was a dad looking for a son, and he basically went with everything I recommended. I'm like, whoa, this never happens.
Yeah, it's nice.
And I talked him out of the one book that he'd picked for himself.
Okay, good.
Oh, it's just that he picked up the last volume of Ascender. Mm-hmm. I'm like, your kid probably has it. It's not new.
No.
Like, the hardcover is already out of the
They're
whole
on
thing.
to their next series.
Yeah.
Which we have a first collection of. Here's Little Monsters.
Doesn't like horror.
It's barely horror.
They're vampires, Dal.
They're vampires.
Vampires are horror characters.
In a post-apocalyptic wasteland. So it's a little bit more
worry.
sci-fi.
He still bought 5 other books.
Okay.
Actually, 4 recommended.
I'm just saying, I'm not a horror guy.
One Blade Runner he picked for himself.
And I don't think Little Monsters. I think genre-wise, you might put it in horror, or it might be tagged as horror. I think you could easily say, like, it's not really a horror book.
But to go to your first pet peeve, Molly had the experience this week.
That's what brought it to the front of my brain, was that Molly specifically, A, had that experience, and B, took it way harder than I ever would.
Yeah.
Like, she was kind of basically upset that someone not only disregarded her suggestions, but also went with a book that she would have warned them not to get.
I think that's why. I don't think she was worried about them not liking her suggestions.
It's never the first part. It's always the second part.
Someone who was looking for a superhero graphic novel for their girlfriend ignored all of Molly's recommendations and chose...
Identity Crisis.
Identity Crisis.
Brad Meltzer's Identity Crisis.
Not the book, like a book that DC has
and this is someone who, according to her, was
looking
looking for a Batman story.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even really fulfill that criteria very well.
Don't give your girlfriend the Identity Crisis.
It would not have been my first of 50 suggestions. But yeah, like when if that had happened to me and I had been pitching stuff and that a person went, "Oh, Identity Crisis, this looks great," I'd have been like, "Well," and if they still went with it, it's like, all right, this is your problem now.
Yeah, but Molly Jane wanted to make clear to both of us that she did not recommend that book.
And she was upset afterwards. And, like, I would say rightly so, but, like, I would never get that worked up about it. But she was like, I can't believe that. I can't believe he would do that. It's like, you gotta let it go. Can't live his life for him.
That's because you're a boy.
Probably.
And boys do horrible things to girls in that book.
Oh, no.
One boy and one girl specifically.
That's true.
Yeah, a superhero line you don't cross.
Mm-hmm. As it turns out.
Yeah.
DC spent a long time trying to figure out what that line was, and they found it. Found it in Identity Crisis.
And then they showed Batman's dick.
Accidentally, quote unquote.
We forgot he had one.
Uh-huh.
What were you reading when I came in?
Ant-Man. I was reading the Zeb-Wells Ant-Man.
Oh, I thought you were looking at a PDF or something.
No, I'd read a PDF for an upcoming interview series, but I didn't enjoy it, so I didn't really feel like I wanted to talk about it.
Okay.
But then I went to read that Family Snikt that Margie had recommended.
Yeah.
On Marvel Unlimited. And I liked it.
You mean Marvel's Voices?
Marvel's, yeah, that's the problem.
Family Snikt.
I was looking for the Family Snikt as an infinite comic? Can't remember what they call it. And I couldn't find it because it's the newest issue of the Marvel Voices anthology, which I don't know how it's a Marvel Voices thing. Like, there's even a point at the end where, like, Gabby says something and all of the text is, like, rainbow. And it's like, this is a family trip. It's not really, like, it's not a pride thing. Not really. Despite Dakin being there. Like,
well, don't forget,
right.
Marvel's Voices is usually, as far as...
Is this for Canadian Heritage Month or something?
Also, well, so who were the members of the road trip?
The Wolverines.
Uh-huh.
Wolverine, Dark Wolverine, Gabby and Jonathan. The Wolverine.
Oh, I thought the solicitation named somebody else.
No, not
somebody
not in the first chapter.
Oh, okay. Somebody with a more ethnic name that could be considered. You know, they've done like the Korean Marvel Voices special or the Native American Marvel Voices special or the...
I would love to hear under what
the
banner of special. Marvel Voices this story would land, because I'm not seeing it. Like, again, even if you have a character like the Dark Wolverine who's bi, it's not the point of the story, and he's dating Aurora in this one. So, like, it's... Even by that standard, it kind of doesn't work.
Is that in canon?
Yeah, he was dating Aurora in X Factor.
Oh, you're right. I remember that now.
Yeah,
the book is gone now, so...
Maybe this story is set circa... Well, I was going to say the story is set circa then, but Gabby specifically mentions her recent storyline in New Mutants that wrapped up well after that book had concluded. So I don't know. Marvel time. What are you going to do?
Someone messaged me today asking what I thought of Hunter Goranson being the new publisher of Oni. Mm-hmm. And I said, I think nothing about it because Oni is dead to me.
I need them to put out that last Kaiju Max Colossal Edition. That's about it.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
After that, I can walk away.
But, I mean, I'm not excited by any of their offerings anymore, and I don't have any faith in that company's long-term lifespan.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say they're dead to me, but the people that I had confidence and faith in aren't there anymore. So, I mean, the company at this point has to live and die on its own merits.
Right. But when I say dead to me, I mean they get no special consideration, and I'm not excited about what they're putting out with. And this is nothing against Hunter Goranson at all, but he's been a lot of places in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
he was just at Boom. Then right before that, he was Bad Idea. Then he was Valiant, and there was Marvel.
The Bad Idea thing is the thing I'm more concerned about because, after our year with Bad Idea, I think I've said maybe on this podcast that anybody who was associated with Bad Idea, if they landed a company, I'm going to be very skeptical of that company. Just a lot of incredibly poor decisions and a ton of frustrations that entire year. That, I don't know who's responsible for what and whose decisions were which, but if you were connected with Bad Idea, I'm going to take a long, hard look at what you're doing and not give a ton of leeway.
Doubt after your own personal experiences.
Yes.
That mirrored mine entirely.
Yes, we were in the same boat.
I agree. Is it weird thinking that 3 years ago we were running Blue?
A little bit.
I know each year it gets a little different.
Well, so, I mean, it's coming back for me because I live farther away from the store now. And so I have to take trains and stuff in the wintertime. And my experience with Blue is completely wrapped up in having to
this
take a
time
lot of
year
transit
specifically
during like the dark, cold months, and only the dark and cold months. So like, yeah, it's a lot of nostalgia. I don't know if you'd call it that. It's definitely a reminiscence for sure. Yeah, it does get harder to remember all the time though, because it's 3 years now.
Yeah,
since we opened it.
So many things have happened in those 3 years.
Oh my God,
so many things. Can you imagine trying to Shopify 2 stores or manage comics 2 stores or,
Jesus,
No.
I don't even know if I could. Like, I'll see some things when I'm looking for a solution to a Shopify problem. And the Shopify forums, which are usually just a mountain of people going, why hasn't Shopify fixed this yet? With, like, date stamps of, 5 consecutive years. But occasionally it's people bringing up stuff about, like, how difficult it is to manage multiple stores, multiple inventories and stuff. And it's like, oh my God, I'm so glad we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, trying to juggle that, I don't know if we would have done it. Like, yeah, when we ended up putting stuff online during the pandemic, we did it just off of the Bucktown store because that was the one we were interacting with all the time. I don't know if we would have tried to, like, I think we might have had to do a separate instance altogether to make the River North inventory part of it. I don't know if we could.
We'll never have to find out.
I'm so glad.
I was going to end it there, but I haven't done a Patreon segue for our patrons, which shouldn't always just be the end of the episode. It needs to be sprinkled in somewhere else. But, it's December now, so...
You don't think there's another break that you could have just tossed it into somewhere in this episode?
There definitely is, but now I have to go back and find it as opposed to have written it down when it happened.
Oh, what a bummer.
I hate it when I don't have... Like, by the end of the recording, I want to have the episode title in my mind, the...
Image?
Cold open, and the image. And I only have one of those 3 done for tonight.
Yikes.
So, more work for me later.
Oh my God.
Anyway, thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.